Hi everybody, good evening. Welcome to the Barefoot Sanctuary. We have sold out, which is very exciting. We have literally had to bring armchairs through from the coaching room for the people that are going to come late. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. For those that are new to the Barefoot Sanctuary, it's great to have you here. It's amazing every time we do these talks. We have returning faces and we have new faces, and it's really exciting to see. I'm Bernie Petrie. I created this space 2 years ago, and one of the reasons that we have the talks is because it was dictated that that's what was going to happen. They're very much, I feel like, for my benefit, because I just love surrounding myself with people who are curious about why we are the way we are as human beings and how to, reach our potential and live a more joyful, happier life. So that's the whole purpose of the Barefoot Talks. We have tonight a very special speaker. I met this wonderful woman about a year and a half ago, and again, as my world expands to meet people who are just looking at life a different way, I just knew from the moment that I met her that we were going to become better friends, and that we would, and we're just starting on that journey. I think I just spent a week in Mallorca with her, and another amazing friend, Alison McKenzie's here tonight. And so I have experienced personally the benefit of being in the room with someone who tunes in to a very loving, unjudgmental presence. She has a very important role to play, and she is really just getting started. So can you make sure all your phones are switched off? We are filming it tonight, but you don't have to worry about being on the film. It's purely pointing this way. Jennifer will invite you to ask some questions, which I would encourage you to play with her in that and to take part in that. This is a sacred space. Nothing here is everything here is for you. So just take a deep breath, let go of all the things that you had to do, you need to do, and just give yourself the gift of, for the next hour, staying fully present with the very wonderful Jennifer May.
Thank you for that introduction. Very, very kind of you. Yes, so hello everybody. Nice to see you all here. Thank you so much for coming out in the rain and the winter weather here at the end of May to come and join me. I'm really happy to be here, and very honored to have you all here with me. So I was saying earlier, most of my kind of workshops and things are kind of 2 hours, 3 hours. So my boundary for me tonight is gonna not waffle on and get distracted. I'm gonna set a boundary with the time. So we're going to really click through lots of information tonight, but I want to make sure that everything is really nice and concise and clear. So if at any point you're not sure about the language I'm using, the words that I'm using, or have any questions or anything about what I'm saying, feel free to throw your hand up. I'm happy to answer questions as we go. And I will call on you a couple times throughout the kind of hour to share what you're feeling, share what you're experiencing. Me standing up here for an hour may not be the most exciting thing, but with you guys joining in, it's much more meaningful, and hopefully you'll feel a big difference kind of before you come in here and after you leave tonight. So we've got a lovely, calm, inviting space for you all here tonight. So so that's my hope and intention for you. So very briefly, I'll kind of talk you through who I am and what we're going to do this evening. So I'm Jennifer May. I call myself a transformational guide. I'm a healer, a psychic, an intuitive, a coach, a guide, all those fun words that I'm sure you're all familiar with and used to. I teach. I'm one of the leading theta healing teachers in the United Kingdom, so have been, have a background in psychology, working in the criminal justice system, working with addiction and poor mental health, and found my way into healing about 6 or 7 years ago. And that's kind of been my journey, and since then have really delved into understanding more of what makes us tick, why we behave the ways that we do, the influences within ourselves and also from the world around us, how we respond to our own stuff and how we respond to other people's stuff. But also understanding the energetic world, the different planes of existence, and how we're responding to the energy of the room that we're in, of the land that we're on, of the people that are around us. So that's kind of my background and my what I do. And I am based in Edinburgh. I do kind of monthly meditations, I teach courses, I do workshops. So little bits and pieces of lots of things, which is good. So it keeps me busy and keeps me from getting bored. Which is definitely a big part of my life, is finding some adventure and finding new things to do. So basically the way that I work and what I want to kind of offer you guys tonight, anything that I do in terms of whether it's a talk or a meditation or a workshop, there's always healing involved in it. And this is healing on purpose. So I know sometimes going to a talk, having epiphanies, hearing some new information is a healing in itself and will help you to shift energy and change things. But what I would also like to offer you is that as we're going through things tonight, I would like to start to shift some old emotions that you might be holding on to, some old belief systems that you might be holding on to. Now, I will not do any of this without your permission, and I'll let you know exactly what I'm doing. So if you don't want that, that's fine. But if you do, that offer is there for you. And again, this is taking us into kind of a meditational state, which many of you will know is just a nice, calm, clear. It's where we feel most centered, most calm, most ourselves. So that's the energy I'm working with. That's the energy that we're going into. So as we go through this, if you notice things are coming up for you as we're talking through things, if you notice specific emotions are coming up or specific beliefs are popping into your head, I'll ask you guys what's coming up for you at a few times, and if you want to share them with me, then we can clear them. Because the cool thing is that whatever's coming up for you will be coming up for other people in the room as well. So don't feel shy about sharing, because whatever you're benefiting from, somebody else will have something going on as well too. Groups come together for a reason, so you're all meant to mix and mingle it on some level, even if it's just energetically tonight. So that's there for you. So again, this is just changing some old programming, some old patterns, some old emotions that people hang on to, which we all do to a certain degree throughout our lives. And it's just kind of clearing out a lot of that stuff, which is a distraction and gets in the way and weighs us down and feels heavy. So does that sound okay with everybody? Mm-hmm. Awesome. Oh, good. So smiles good. Cool. So basically, the way that so the title for my talk tonight hinges on kind of this idea of fierce freedom. And for me, this notion of fierce freedom came for me kind of at the beginning of this year. I went home and spent some time with my family and friends in January. And I don't know about you guys, I'm not big into resolutions, but I do like to set some intentions and figure out what I want the focus of the year to be and how I want to be living that year or that month, or however often you do that. And I kind of sat down at the beginning of the year and was tuning in to what I wanted the year to be, and was kind of asking, what message is important for me to be sharing with other people. And the words that I got immediately were fierce freedom. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Sounds exciting. I don't know, what's that? So I really started to kind of delve into what freedom really meant to me. And I know this is a big thing for a lot of people. It comes up a lot of time in sessions and classes, is this idea of freedom and people feeling, whether it's possible to have freedom, whether we are controlled, whether we're influenced, within our lives, and how much freedom are we actually allowed to have. And so I really started this year looking at, what is one of the most effective ways that we can ensure freedom in our lives, and boundaries was the big thing that came up for me. And I love bringing up boundaries with people, because either people just go dead silent, or they start to squirm around, or they kind of go, oh yeah, I tried that, but I don't really know if that works. So it's really fascinating to me how one word can be so very loaded and carry with it so many different emotions and beliefs and feelings, and from our past and what we're in at the moment. So I got really excited about that because I like kind of going into the stuff that challenges people a little bit. I find that kind of fun. So if you feel a little challenged tonight, awesome. Means you're going to be looking at some things that you've either maybe avoided before or haven't taken the time to, or maybe had some new perspectives coming through for you to really start to kind of look at what you're doing in your life that's working and maybe what's not. Because a lot of times we try some things and they just are not working. So again, it's that trial and error and bringing that into awareness so that you can do something about that. So essentially, it's, for me, this talk is using boundaries to return you to your original state of consciousness and essence. Does that sound good to anybody? Because that's what they can do. People try to brush them off like they're not a big deal. But essentially, we're going to look at how your no can create a yes. So the little no's in your life can create big yeses for you. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is a little bit about kind of words and language, and how language plays a part in our life. And I find this is important to do at the beginning of any kind of talk or workshop, because what I find so often is that a lot of modalities and teachers and healers and writers and leaders are talking about the same thing, but if they're not using the right words, that people go, oh, I don't get that. I don't understand what they're talking about. But it's all the same thing. And it was really interesting because I was having a conversation with Robert Holden. I was not having a conversation with Robert Holden. I was in a big group like this. But he was on stage. But it was like we were having a conversation, me and Robert Holden. But we were kind of discussing essentially these things about what it is to write and what it is to share information. And I was bringing up the point of how language is this beautiful, amazing, fascinating thing that sometimes is, we have the perfect words, or you hear the perfect words that describe exactly what you're going through, brings in so much information, these great epiphanies, and then sometimes you're like, words are crap. There are no words to describe this. So it's this great duality with language and words and trying to figure out how to get us kind of all on the same page. So as we go through some things tonight, I'm going to be really clear on what I'm meaning by those words, because a lot of times what we do is we will think that we know what a word means, and we'll have this definition for what a word means, but your definition may be very different from another person's definition. So for some people, as an example, I like using the word love because, man, that brings up some stuff for people. So love, in its essence, is love. It's light, it's healing, it's beautiful, it's connecting, it's all these amazing things. But if you yourself associate love with pain or abandonment or heartache or suffering, then you're attaching some emotions and some words to love that aren't really what love is. So a lot of what we're going to do tonight is get you really clear on some of these definitions and some of these intentions, so that as we're talking through some things, so that when you're asking for love, you're really open to love. You can have love without getting caught up in the old past stuff. So does that all sound good? Okay, great. So when I first started to look at fierce freedom, I kind of went in and started to tune into what those words meant to me, and what they meant to everybody else, and what I was getting for a definition of fierce. And it's really funny because when I was talking to a few people when I first kind of came up with this idea of fierce freedom. I was like really excited about it. And speaking to a couple of people, I was like, about this idea of fierce freedom. They were like, oh, I don't like that word fierce. I don't like fierce. That sounds too much. And I just ignored them and went on with it anyway. But for me, and kind of consensus with definition of fierce, is it showing a heartfelt and powerful intensity. So it's heartfelt, it's heart-centered. It's powerful, it's passionate, ardent, fervent, and again, wholehearted. And it's about liberation, release, and deliverance. So I think I can get on board with all of those things. And the reason why I like the word fierce and why I've started implementing it with this work is because people are afraid of this stuff. They're afraid to set boundaries. They're really timid around it. And we're going to talk through some of those reasons why and kind of delve into that. But for me, putting fierce there gives you permission to say, no, actually, it's okay for me to do this. I can do this and it's fine. And it can be heart-centered and it can be amazing and it can be life-changing. And and I've got permission to do that. And for freedom, freedom is a power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. It's independence and sovereignty. I love that word. And it's about, liberation, release, and deliverance. So for me, freedom is ultimately what any healing is about. And I know many of you are healers or have experienced healing in your life in whatever way you've done that. And for me, healing ultimately boils down to letting go of enough crap that you've been holding on to and carrying throughout your life so that you can have the freedom to choose what you do really want and have what you do really want in your life and be able to embody and embrace that. So all the stuff that we do, all this, the learnings, the lessons, everything we're going to, essentially for me, leads to freedom. It leads you to getting back to that essence and truth of who you are. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So, so for me, this is really about creating some real foundations and tangible freedom, like not just the what's in the ether idea of, I can think what I want, but not do any of it. It really is about making it tangible and making it real in your life and applying it in your daily life so that you can live in that way instead of it just being something that you kind of go, I can do that in like a few months or a couple of years or when the circumstance changes or when that relationship shifts or, or whatever's going on. And reigniting your passion for life. So, let's talk a little bit about the definitions of boundaries and the difference between boundaries and barriers. So, what I found a lot of times is that in an attempt to set boundaries, people often create barriers in your life. So when you think about a boundary and when you think about a barrier, can you kind of feel, what is the difference between those two? What can you feel when you think about those words? You might want to share?
One has a limit, the other one doesn't.
Cool. Awesome. Anybody else?
One's like a fence, another one's like a big wall that you can't get over.
One's that you can't get in and the other's that you can't get out.
Oh, cool. Interesting. Anybody else?
One's a positive, one's a negative.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm thinking one's empowering and the other one is, takes the power away.
You guys are good. Those are all perfect. Yeah, those are all amazing. So that's it. And what happens is that, for me, the difference between those two is a barrier is something that's put in place out of fear. And a boundary is something that's put in place out of truth and love. So what happens is that a lot of people go through their lives and we've all had things that have happened to us in our past. We've had people hurt us, we've had heartache, we've had things that have happened where people either haven't honored us or respected us. And what happens is we remember the pain from that. And so people put barriers in place to prevent something that hasn't actually even happened yet. So a lot of people are overcompensating and putting all these walls up, putting all these big no's up, and not allowing themselves to experience things because they're remembering something that's happened before. So it's really looking back at the past and limiting your future because of it. And I think barriers for some people are that first step in learning what a boundary is. I think some of that's the progression. A lot of times people are putting in barriers so they can learn boundaries. But I think a lot of this work is about recognizing where you can take the barriers down. Because again, that love example, if you are associating love with pain, and you're going, no pain and no love because I can't handle what might happen, what may or may not happen, in a few years' time, then you're stopping yourself from having the experiences that you actually do want to have in your life. And with the boundaries, you guys are right. Boundaries for me are a bit more fluid. They're less absolute. And for me, they're a real exercise in discernment. Which, so a barrier is like the easy option. It's like, I just put up a barrier and just leave it alone. And nobody messes with me and it's fine. Whereas with a boundary, you're actually gauging that on a one-to-one basis with your relationships with people. You're gauging that other person. So in order to be able to set an appropriate, healthy boundary with somebody, what do you guys think you need to have? What virtues or gifts or abilities do you guys think you need to have in order to have really healthy boundaries in your life?
Trust.
Yes. What else?
Intuition.
That's a good one. For sure.
Self-love.
Self-love, definitely. What else?
Empathy.
Oh, yeah.
Flexibility to compromise as well.
Okay. Oh, I might challenge you a little bit on that compromise word. But I get what you're coming from. We'll come back to that.
Self-awareness.
Self-awareness, perfect.
Maybe you just need to be open.
Yeah. That's true. That's very true. But no, I think you're all right. You've got to be able to trust. And I think a lot of it ultimately boils down to being able to see and recognize the truth of any situation. And again, if you're so caught up in your stuff from the past, then that may be kind of clouding your judgment of what's going on in that with that situation or with that person. So for me, whenever you have got a handle on boundaries or have a real understanding of how to do that, your relationships flow, they click, they grow. You start finding the right people who you want to have in your life. Relationships evolve. If they haven't been working, they start to evolve. And so ultimately for me, when I think about what a boundary is, it just boils down to its choices. Boundaries in your life are choices, and it's about you choosing what you do want to have. And about choosing your experiences. So, how many of you here are really indecisive and hate making choices? A lot of hands. A lot of smiles. So, when you think about making choices, what comes up for you when you think about making choices? What's hard about making choices?
You might get it wrong.
Oh, I love that. You might get it wrong. And what makes something wrong?
Other people's
I'm so sorry. Sorry, what was that?
I was saying other people's opinions of your choice.
Right?
Not trusting your own judgment fully.
Right? Not trusting your own judgment.
Get hurt.
Sorry?
To get hurt.
Getting
as
hurt.
a result of it.
Right.
Might miss out.
So you're already regretting something you haven't done. So pain, regrets, getting things wrong, judgment from other people. Anything else? There's some good ones. Yes.
I guess I'm having a wee bit of struggle between, and I might have heard you wrong, but for me a boundary and a choice is about knowing my yes and my no. So a boundary for me is actually saying to things that aren't good for me, I have a no for that, or people that aren't good for me.
So this is what I love about my groups, is because everybody in my group is intuitive, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. So you already know what's coming. And you're right.
Because actually for a lot of women, people that with abused women don't know their no's. And there is something about, there's a power in saying actually, this is my boundary, you don't come any further,
For sure.
as opposed to those that you let in. So
Yes.
there is something about the purity of knowing that.
putting something out there as well.
Well, it's just like, this is where I stop, and you're not going to come in here, because you're really not for me.
But again, that's that making that choice to put that boundary.
So I don't have a yes for everything.
Yes. No.
Because I think I would be exhausted.
Yeah. Would you like to come and give a talk? Right now. That's perfect. So no, you're absolutely right. So we're definitely going to talk about the yeses and the nos. So you guys are all right, and I think that with boundaries, they can take bravery, they can take courage. It's not always easy for people to make boundaries, but then that means that we're growing and that we're learning and that we're evolving, which is all what we're here to do. Any of you who are trying to stay stagnant and never change, you're in the wrong place. Earth doesn't let you do that. So it is part of that process. So why don't we, before we step into the nose, so some of the things that you guys have brought up around kind of these fears and things, the fears of being judged, fears of getting it wrong, of being hurt, and things like that. Are you guys ready to just like release all that stuff?
Yeah.
So anything that was said or that wasn't said that came up for you, I'm just going to ask that all that's resolved now in the highest and best way, that your body knows how to release that with grace. And actually, is it okay if we just give you that highest understanding and perspective of healthy, harmonious boundaries and what it is to have those in your life? And then I'll lay some foundation for the rest of the talk. Cool. Ooh, so how are we feeling now? Feel better? Yeah. So we'll give that some time to settle in. We'll just keep going with that. So, let's talk about nose. So, human beings, we are funny creatures. By the way, most people, this is a little bit of a tangent, I mean to rein it in, but most of us come to Earth to become human beings and we regret it immediately. And we get to Earth and we're like, why in the world did I do this to myself? And we're all really bad at it. We're going to do some stuff to change that at the end. That's my favorite thing about humans. Everybody's like, what am I doing here? So it's human beings. So we all have a subconscious. We all have an ego. We all have emotions as human beings. So human beings are very good at learning through compare and contrast, through trying things out, cause and effect. And we're very good at learning through judgment, comparison, and judgment, which gets us into trouble a lot of times. But it's an effective way to learn, and evolutionary speaking, that was how we did it. You know, your ancestors you learned as a child, if you touch a hot stove, you burn your hand. You learn not to do it. You learn if you go stand in the snow without shoes, you get frostbite, and so you don't do it. So we, as human beings, we learn very quickly how to identify what we don't like, what does not feel good. That seems to have the biggest impact on us. And when you look at us from an evolutionary standpoint, or from looking at it from this standpoint of the subconscious, your subconscious's job is to keep you alive. Your subconscious is not logical. It can often be very fear-based, and so its job is to keep you here in your body and surviving. So if your subconscious recognizes that things are dangerous or bad for you, it's going to remember that and try to keep you from doing that again. So our subconscious serves us in a lot of ways. It'll keep you alive. It's good for you in that sense. But what also happens, on the other side is that, it keeps you from the unknown. And anything outside of your comfort zone is the unknown. So this is why it's so hard to go outside of your comfort zone and do something new. Your subconscious doesn't understand it. So it's almost like you have to learn and talk yourself into doing it. Because your subconscious is like, I don't understand that. So let's just stay in this chair, watching TV, or playing on Pinterest. That's the easy one too. For the rest of the day and not do anything new. So in a lot of ways, we're kind of programmed or wired to learn in this way. And again, it's been very effective in a lot of ways. However, there's also that finding discernment of when to kind of go beyond that, and to learn and choose in different ways. But for a lot of people, saying no is the first step. For a lot of people, that's the big thing of them establishing boundaries, is that learning how to say no to someone, or no to something, no to an experience, no to whatever's going on around them. And you're right, for a lot of people it's really, really difficult. So when I talk about saying no to somebody asks you to do something and you don't want to do it and it's not right for you to do it and you know in your gut it's not the best thing for you to do. When I talk about saying no, who feels uncomfortable with that? Who finds that really hard? Yeah, there's a lot of hands. There's a lot of hands. So when you think about no, what feelings come up when you think about saying no to somebody?
That they'll not like me.
Yeah, so they won't like you anymore. Mm-hmm. What else?
I feel guilty.
Feel guilty, yeah. Guilt's a big one with saying no. That's usually the biggest one that comes up. Feeling guilty. Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Anything else come up?
Feel judged.
Judged, yes, absolutely. Judgment again, it's a big one. Anybody else?
Feel scared to hurt their feelings.
Yeah. So you don't want to hurt somebody else. Mm-hmm.
If you're afraid to say no as well. Just afraid to say no.
Afraid to. Mm-hmm. What will the consequences be?
They could be really angry.
Mm-hmm. Angry's scary, right? Anger's really scary. How many of you are afraid of anger? You already don't want to let that go, actually. Wow, let's just do a little side clearing here. Ooh, anger is big stuff. Yeah, so you're right. There's a lot of people who part of their identity and their family and their friendships and their job is to be the one that sorts everybody else out. Is the one that does everything else, that always says yes, that does the job, that gets it taken care of. People who are carers are very nurturing, who are parents a lot of times. You know, again, it's this thing of, yeah, that's my job, that's my role, I have to do it. And if I say no, then I lose my place in the family, I lose my place in the friendship. They won't like me anymore, it's mean, it makes me feel guilty, it's selfish. That's another one that comes up a lot of times, it's selfish to say no. Yeah, so it brings up all these things for people, which makes it really difficult for us to say no, even when we know it's the best thing for us. So there's a lot of, something that I look at a lot with clients and students is this idea of obligations. And things like should, could, would. You should just throw that word out. It's an awful word to have. I've actually made it a point to stop saying that word. I catch myself every once in a while, but I've made the effort to get rid of it. So we often find ourselves in these dynamics, in these relationships where we feel obligated to behave a certain way, to play a certain role, to continue with something. And it may be that the relationship, 10 years ago was fine, but those same dynamics are not fine anymore. But we continue to kind of play that part or play the role because we're afraid of, well, what will happen if I start to say no? And usually that's, I'll lose my partner, I'll lose my family, I'll lose my friends. So it's that fear of being alone. So we have loads of good reasons for not saying no. But what would happen if you guys could just let go of those obligations in your life? If you could just let go of those labels and dynamics and those roles you've taken on. I'm already starting to feel a little lighter now. What's the big stuff holding you back? Because really it just boils down to fear. It all just boils down to fear. It's only love or fear. And I know fear can seem very powerful, can seem very strong. But yeah, when you think about starting to say no to some of the things you've been doing in your life, changing some of the dynamics within your work, within your relationships, what are the feelings that come up? Any extra feelings or fears that come up for you?
Can I ask a question? What do you feel about responsibility?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. Thank you. So, we are responsible for ourselves. We are responsible for how we feel, for our own actions, for our own behaviors, for how we feel. I can't control how Bernie feels. I can't control how Allison feels. I can't control how anybody else acts. obviously my presence and the way I act will have an influence and an impact on other people, but ultimately we each choose how we want to respond. And you're psychic too, because we were going to talk about this later, but that's fine. So, and that's the big thing, is people really get caught up in this feeling responsible for other people. And that's a lot of what makes the no hard, because we feel responsible for loads and loads and loads of reasons that again come back to helping us feel like we've got a place, or we have an identity, or we have a role. So ultimately it just comes back to helping us know that we're in the right place or doing the right thing, which actually sometimes it's time to move on.
So,
yeah.
can I just
Please.
narrow that down? So what you're saying is that responsibility to ourselves is above everything else.
What do you mean?
Well, I was just thinking of my 94-year-old parents, for example,
Right?
and they get me down. But it's still, I feel, my responsibility to keep an eye on them.
Mm-hmm.
And if I walk away from them, I don't think I'd feel particularly good about that.
Yeah.
But what's the weight with being dragged down, and actually feeling badly if I leave?
Yeah, perfect. So, what I would say is that I think there are times, you guys are so psychic, where it is your part in life to serve. It's your part to be, you're there for other people. You were born into the family, you chose to be born into your family, and you guys will love and care for each other in whatever way is right for your family dynamics at any time. What I would say with that is it's about letting go of the I should do this, or I have to do this, or any of the heaviness that's associated with it, and reconnecting with I'm doing this because I want to, or I love to, or if there are aspects of that you don't love, then who else is out there that can help with that? Who else can I bring in to help share this, so that it's not a burden, but that you can still love that experience of being part of your parents' care. So for me it's about releasing that obligation feeling and that heavy burden feeling, being able to love and appreciate your parents for who they are, and honor that relationship as you are their daughter, because that's what they really want. I mean, that's a much higher vibration and much more loving and compassionate and caring than getting to that point of feeling so burdened and weighed down by it, that it then becomes burdensome. And what happens with a lot of people is that when they get to that point of feeling so burdened by those responsibilities, is they start to resent the people that they love because they can't cope with everything that they're going through. So I'm not saying throw away all your responsibilities and I mean, wouldn't that be fun though? But I think it's changing the dynamics and changing the relationship and finding ways to bring some harmony into that, so that you're still loving that experience and it's still nurturing and feeding you too, instead of being weighed down by the stuff that's not. Is that
Yeah,
cool?
I understand. Yeah,
Perfect.
Thank you.
Great question. Thank you. Would you guys like to have the highest understanding and perspective of responsibility and what it is to be responsible for yourself without feeling like you have to be responsible for everyone else? And actually, would you guys like to, all the burdens that you've taken on for your family, for your friends, for everyone else around you, would you guys like for them to be released and knowing that they'll be taken care of for you without you having to be the one responsible for them? Does that sound okay? So you guys that are ready to release any burdens. I'm just gonna let those go. Yeah. So for me, when I'm looking at kind of the benefits of saying no, ultimately what no is for me is it creates spaciousness in your life. It creates spaciousness for you energetically, emotionally, physically. It just gives you some space to really look at, okay, this is me, this is who I am. That's their stuff. That's what's going on there. because what happens is when you're so burdened by everything in life, you just get so confused and caught up, you can't see which ways you're going or what's happening with you. So by starting off saying no is a lot of times the easiest way, just to create some space that you can really get a handle on your life and assess what it is that you are wanting to have. So it's that decluttering of your relationships, of your home, of your possessions, of your physical body. I mean, I'm sure you guys all know the benefits of decluttering and how that works. Essentially, that's creating a boundary. That's saying no to what you don't want in your life anymore, to what doesn't feel good, what's outdated. I don't know, how many of you guys have still got clothes in your closet from like 10 years ago? Just hanging on to, just in case.
You're
You want to wear it
psychic, because
again.
I just did that yesterday.
It's a good time.
I got 2 big bags of clothes yesterday.
It's a good time to do it.
I even took a picture of my wardrobe, all clear.
Awesome. Are you going to keep
So
it that way? Yes. So we often, and I know I look back, I had clothes in my wardrobe at one point. That was stuff that was me. It definitely was me, but like 10 years ago. It's not who I was now. I was like, no, we're done. So it's the saying no to the stuff that doesn't reflect you, isn't you, and isn't what you do want. So again, for some people, finding that no, finding what you don't want, what feels heavy, what doesn't feel right, what doesn't feel aligned, is sometimes the easiest way to start. And as you say no, then your relationships start to evolve. They start to change on their own. And it helps you to really become present. It gives you that spaciousness to be present and not caught in the past. And for me, that's the biggest benefit of it, is just bringing you back into the present. And if you guys want to know some cool stuff that'll happen with your physical body, when you start saying no and setting boundaries and decluttering and clearing out and letting go, your lymphatic system improves, which is your immune system, so you get sick less often. Your digestive system improves, so everything works better when your digestion is better. And your endocrine system balances itself, which is your emotions. So when you start to say no, when you start to let go, all that stuff balances for you physically, emotionally, and mentally. Does that sound like a possible first step? That sound good? No. And you know what? And that is your right to say that. Because I have no responsibility over you. Awesome. So, I love that. So, the things in your life that you're ready to let go of. So I've created a list here, which I think is a pretty good one. But if you guys have other things you want to throw in, then throw them in, because we're going to clear some stuff. So when I really was looking at the stuff I wanted to say no to in my life, I was like, I'm done with this. It's things like dishonor and disrespect. It's things like being dismissed, being unheard, being undervalued, being excluded. Things like being burdened, taking on too much responsibility, and yeah, just the clutter of emotion, the clutter of thought, the clutter of all that. So when you think about your relationships, your physical world, your environment, are there any other things that you guys are ready to just let go of? If there's anything specific, you can shout it out, or I'll just ask that it's clear.
Taken for granted.
Yes. Let's be done with that. Anything else?
The need to work hard.
Oh. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little bit too.
Being a scapegoat for others.
Think of what's our scapegoat?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, any of that victim stuff, scapegoat, any of that, that's all done too. Nobody needs any of that. You guys ready to let all that go? Mm-hmm. Cool. So take a moment and just breathe in as this energy shifts. And just notice where you feel it in your body, and notice where you feel it releasing, resolving, leaving your body. Because for a lot of you, this is going to be solar plexus, sacral, root chakra stuff. And let's give you the highest understanding and perspective of what it is to have permission to say no. That you have the discernment of when and how to say no. But how to do it with grace. and with respect, without fearing that you're going to be rejected or judged, without fearing that you're going to be selfish or feel guilty. Let's take another nice deep breath. How are you feeling? Are you feeling better? Feeling lighter? Awesome. Awesome. Cool. So let's talk about yeses. So for me, the second step in setting boundaries is about identifying your yeses. And this is actually the more fun part. So the no is the foundation. It's that clearing enough space so that you can bring in some yeses. So for me, yeses are ultimately, with anything in life, but with making choices, I find that being able to tune into your feelings, how you feel about something, is huge, huge. And I think this is something that we forget because our minds get caught up in the should, could, would, the rationale, all the excuses. But I know that when I feel something, that's the best decisions I make, even if I can't explain logically why. So ultimately, it's about making choices that feel good to you, and figuring out what it is that you want to feel. And this can be subtle, and this will be different for everybody. So at the beginning of this year, I sat down and wrote a list of experiences that I wanted to have and things that I wanted to feel. So I'll share this with you, and you guys might find some words on here that you like. This is just to get you thinking. So for this year, I want to feel intrepid and adventurous. I want to feel purposeful and dynamic. I want to feel spirited, devoted, open and receiving, bold, spontaneous, energetic, and jubilant. Those are the words that I put in. So what I did with each of those was I really went in and sat down and said, what do I want to feel this year? And I didn't get caught up in how I was going to make that happen. That's the next step. But for me, that important first step is, what do I want to feel? What is acceptable for me? And what is actually more than acceptable? What's exciting for me to feel? So when you start to identify what your yeses are and what you do want, that's when you really start to manifest the relationships that you want to have, the life that you want to have, all those things so it impacts on everything. So things that feel good, when I think about what feels good in kind of relationships or dynamics, I really go into people's kind of virtues, like, the virtues and the gifts that people have. So things about, people who know what it is to understand respect and honor. Those are big ones. And wanting to have people around me that understand integrity, that understand truth and honesty, that understand what love is, what connection is, and things like that. So when you guys think about what it is, what you want to say yes to in your life, what feelings you want to say yes to, what else comes up for you? What do you want to feel that feels really good, that you're excited about? Not just, it's okay. What feels awesome?
Unlimited.
Unlimited. Awesome. Love it. What else?
Passion.
Passion. Oh, it's a good word.
Free.
Sorry?
Free.
Free. Mm-hmm.
Self-confidence and self-love.
Awesome. Self-confidence and self-love, definitely.
I think for me, it's when I have my feet on the ground and I know what I stand for, which can be lots of different things. But it's that. It's almost like that stance, or like when you do the yoga in the warrior pose. It's like, I really know what I stand for when I do
You're
that.
so psychic. I'm talking about that in a minute.
Because you can't
Yes.
say what's your yes unless you know what you stand for.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It will be very different to that, I guess.
Mm-hmm. But I think when you start to recognize what feels right, then you start to know. Then you start to get clear on that, definitely. So for me, it really started out as, I think this year I kind of took some time and did some honest self-evaluation and recognized some things that I wanted to do that logically made sense, either weren't working out or weren't making me feel like I wanted to feel. And I let go of that attachment of, these are the things I need to do. And I just said, chuck all that out. I just want to feel awesome. change in my focus this year, actually, and it's been, I will say, I feel much better. I feel a lot better than I did last year. So what happens though is that, again, with our subconscious, sometimes we don't understand what some of these things feel like. Because if you don't know what happiness feels like, it's hard to ask for it, or it's hard to identify how to have it, things like that. So what I want to do is kind of upgrade you guys' definitions for some of these words that you can work some of this stuff in. Does that sound okay? So let's give you the highest, for anybody who wants it, the highest understanding, perspective, definition of respect, of honor, of freedom, of self-confidence, self-esteem, self-love, love, connection, and also communication and expression, and knowing that you have permission to have all of those. Is that okay? I'm just going to ask that any associations you've made with any of those words or feelings that aren't the highest truth, that don't align, let's just resolve all of that. I'll just get you nice and clear on the energy of those words. So for me, that second step with boundaries and in choosing your yeses is, a lot of it is about making yourself the priority again. And it's about, choosing yourself. So I'll share with you guys a little thing that I've really been doing the last year or so that's made a huge difference for me. And you can do this with your no's and with your yeses. So take some time to do this, soon. So I call them non-negotiables. You've probably maybe heard similar stuff from other teachers and people. So non-negotiables sounds a little bit stuck, but let me explain why it's not. So for me, non-negotiables are about setting a foundation, creating a foundation for your life, or a structure. So what I started asking is, what is it that I need to do daily, or weekly, or monthly, in order to feel awesome? What do I need to do to feel that way? So again, I started first with identifying the feelings that I wanted, and then I started to find the actions that would help me to feel that or experience that. So one of the things I looked at was, I was going through a period where I was just in front of my computer a lot, and I wasn't doing much physically, so I was feeling a bit tired and sluggish, and you know how it is when you're just not using your body. Your body's like, seriously, let's go. Go on. And I realized that I need to do some kind of exercise about 4 times a week to feel good. So I went and joined a gym, a beautiful gym with a lovely hydrotherapy pool. And so I don't go and kill myself on a treadmill because I hate that. That doesn't make me feel awesome. But I go do some classes where I get to dance around. And then I go sit in the steam room, in the sauna, in the hydrotherapy pool. And I get to use my body and I feel amazing. So that was the first thing I did in terms of how can I make my body feel great. So what I will also say that you need to do with your non-negotiables is you need to schedule them into your life. Because it's really easy. How many of you have joined a gym and then never gone? We're gone for like a month and that was it. So if you know that doing this is going to lead to you feeling great, then schedule it in your diary. Make it a priority. Make it part of your day. And one of the best ways that I found to do this is my non-negotiables, most of them I do in the morning, before I start to get distracted or pulled or having to fit in with other people's lives and schedules and all that fun stuff. So I know that I need to meditate every day to feel good. I mean, I don't spend heaps and heaps of time. 10-20 minutes is a great start. But I do that as soon as I get up, and I exercise in the morning. And I started scheduling my clients and everything else in the afternoon and evening so that I have mornings or me time. This is the best thing I've ever done for myself. But for me, the big key was getting to that point of recognizing that I could set a boundary with these and that I didn't need to justify myself. And that's the big thing. There's a lot of nuts. That's the big thing that I find is that people feel like if they're putting themselves first or making themselves a priority, they feel like they need to justify it or excuse it or find a reason why it benefits others or why it's acceptable. And you don't need to do that. So a couple of other things that I've done just to give you guys some ideas and get you thinking is that how many of you have like on your iPhones or your whatever phones you got, have notifications that come up like every 4 minutes and make you go to your phone every 4 minutes. I was making myself crazy. Because I just felt like I was sucked into my phone all the time, because every time that little red dot came up with a notification, I would go and answer an email, or I would go respond to a message, or I would go and do this and go and do this. And I literally was just spending all my time responding, reacting to that. And it was making me a crazy person. So I said, right, what can I do to stop this? Because I am not enjoying this. So I went into my phone and I turned off all the notifications. And oh my God, I got my life back. And really what was behind a lot of this was this thing of, I found that I was like answering emails, like somebody had taken time to sit and write me an email. And I would be like running for the bus doing a quick, just to get it done. And I was like, that is a crappy way to respond to someone who's taken the time to think out a message and send it to me. That is not honor and respect that person. So I only check my emails and my messages a few times a day. And I only do it when I have time to sit and really think and respond and honor that person who's taken the time to send it to me. So if your technology, whatever feels like it's sucking you dry in your life, whatever it feels like it's taking up all your time, it's taking your energy, your effort, any of that, it's time to have a look at that and set some boundaries with it. Because again, that saying no, or that creating a boundary with it, will create some spaciousness so that you can do it in a way that does align with you, that does feel really good. Yeah, and things like, I wanted to be doing more learning and studying, so I allow myself to read every day. And I don't always read like Deepak Chopra or Osho. Sometimes I read Stephen King because he's awesome. But again, it's that taking time for me and making it a priority, and my own kind of happiness and fun and experience that. So when you guys thinking about putting some non-negotiables in your life and saying, this is what I want to have every day, and you think about telling other people, this is my schedule. Is everybody feeling a little nervous about that? Anybody feeling like they're going to be judged? Like they need to justify it? Okay. For any of you that are, would you like to just let go of that stuff now? So here's the thing. What I would say is you can start small with this. You can start, I didn't go in and say like, rearranging my whole life. I thought through it and figured out what I wanted, and I started to implement them and figure out ways to do it that it would work for me and work within my life. And what I would say is, non-negotiables, they're not negotiable in that you don't need to like explain to other people or justify it to other people. But if you do like 3 months of the gym and you're like, I'm done with the gym, then stop going to the gym and like find a dance class or go walk in or find a running buddy or do some yoga classes or So if you want to exercise and move your body, do it the way that works for you. So I would say it's worth evaluating some of these, because you may outgrow some of them or want to do something different. So circulate the energy, mix it up a little bit. But it's about allowing yourself that time and that space to honor yourself and do what's right for you. Because we're not here to just slog through life and things be miserable and horrible, right? You guys know that, right? It's not news to anybody. We're here to have fun. So with non-negotiables, we're creating some spaciousness for you to explore and for you to express yourself and do some new things. How many of you guys are like taking classes for the fun of it? Does anybody do that? Awesome. I love you guys. You're like my superheroes, because the amount of people that are like, I don't have time for that, or I don't know what I want to do, or whatever, it's heartbreaking. But allowing yourself that time and that space and honoring yourself and your own sense of fun and life and enjoyment. Good on you. So what I want to say, I wanted to share this quote with you. There's a guy named James Altucher who I follow. He's a little bit crazy, which is, I think, is why I love him. But he was writing he wrote a blog post a couple days ago, and was touching on boundaries a little bit. But what he said was, another person asked if I wanted to meet for a coffee. I didn't even respond. Nothing wrong with not responding. Social media is a suggestion, not an obligation. What do you think? What do you think? Brings up some stuff, right? has a huge emphasis on manners, like I can't not respond because that feels mean. Anybody who reaches out to me, I'm going to respond to. But I like that idea of taking it from an obligation to a suggestion. I was like, it's a nice shift there. Interesting. I just wanted to throw that out because I brought up some interesting stuff. Yeah, good old James. Check him out. He's interesting. So again, it's that changing the relationship with whatever's going on in your life, setting some boundaries, saying no, saying yes to what you do enjoy about technology. If there's aspects of technology that you hate, find a way to be done with it. Find the stuff you do like. Whatever floats you. You know, if you're Pinterest, then go have at it. Have fun with it. Unless it's taking over your life, and then so again, non-negotiables just help make you the priority again. It helps you bring you back to you. And actually, what I found is that it helped me stop figuring out how I should spend my time, because I know I'm a Capricorn. I'm grounded. I've got a strong work ethic. And so for me, it's very easy for me to just work all the time and may or may not really get anything effective done, but I'll sit and work for 20 hours. So by actually setting some non-negotiables for me and saying, no, it's important for me to exercise, it's important for me to eat good, it's important for me to do these things, it's important for me to meditate, then it's that kind of giving yourself permission to say, oh, actually, no, I don't really need to do that. I don't need to live that way. It's not a nice way to live at all. And it just stopped that inner judgment and that inner conflict of back and forth and back and forth. Yeah, so does that all sound good? That sound good with non-negotiables? What I'm going to say, I'm going to say this at the beginning. I'm in the process of finishing an ebook, which a lot of this information is going to be in. So you'll all get this. I'll tell you how at the end. So you'll get this. Cool. So the last bit here, this third step for me in setting boundaries and having your life. So it was really great. When Bernie asked me to speak, she's asking me for a title. And of course I was like, okay, I gotta come up with a title. And I gotta come up with one that sounds good. So people will come. And so what I originally came up with was choose yourself and serve the world. And what got put up on the website for Barefoot Ambition was choose yourself and save the world. And I saw that. I was like, no. I'm not teaching people how to save the world because everybody already thinks that they're supposed to save the world. So be honest. Raise your hand if you think that you're supposed to save the world. Like, for real. How many of you really think you're supposed to save the world? Come on, be honest. So I'm going to relieve you of this burden. So here's what's cool. So very briefly, and again, hopefully we'll all be on the same page with the vocabulary and the words. So we are a soul having a human experience. You as a soul is vast and amazing and high vibration and so wise and so loving and so incredible. And it's that culmination of all your past lives, all your experiences, past, present, future, interdimensionally, all that. Just bring it all in. It's there. So we all come here. We choose to come here for reasons. There's always a purpose for us to come here. Some people choose multiple things to do. Some people just have a few. It's all very individual and up to you. So some of you guys may already be aware of your purpose or purposes for being here. Some of you might still be in the process of figuring that out. So what I find is that in terms of people's purpose, it tends to be like the bigger themes in your life. And here's the other thing. Most people are like freaking out because they think that they're not doing their purpose when really, like, you are. So what I find for a lot of people is they come here. So some people want to come here and they want to be healers. And you can do that in thousands of different ways. Some people want to be teachers. Again, you can teach in thousands of different ways. Some people are here to be parents, have families. Some people are here to create art and share art with the world. So, there's all these different things, you may have more than one, and they may be working together and flowing together. So for each of us, it's about figuring out our purpose and figuring out why we're here. What I find is that most healers have the belief that they have to save the world. And most of them believe they have to do it all by themselves. Good luck, by the way. But how cool is it that you've all got friends here that are going to help you save the world with you, right? Just in this room, that's like 20 people. So I think we, on some level, have a lot of fear around this and feeling like we have to push ourselves or motivate ourselves in some way in order to fulfill our purpose, whereas in reality, you're probably already doing what you're here to do. So we do have free will and free choice in the ways that we do it. So, again, if you're here to share some information or teach, you may be a school teacher, or you may create your own stuff to teach, or you may just be a leader in your community. So the way you choose to do that is ultimately, it's up to you and it's your choice. But what I find is that no matter what your individual purpose or purposes are, they never involve just you. They always involve other people. So even if you're meant to paint a picture that's just you painting it, well, it's not just you seeing it, you're sharing it with other people. So it may be seen by hundreds or thousands of people, and it may touch them or inspire them, may awaken something within them. So anything that we do that is connecting with our purpose and who we really are is serving the world. And let's differentiate, serving the world and being a servant. Because I think that's what people kind of fall into, is this thing of, again, it's the things with the obligations and feeling like you have to do it, like you're forced to do it, like you don't have a choice. But actually, when you are of service, there's compassion, there's love, there's respect and honor for the people that you're serving. So it's not something that you feel like you're forced to do or have to do. It's something that you're choosing to do because it aligns with you and it resonates with you. So does everybody understand that bit about service, what it is to be of service? So essentially, by being you, you are of service. When you really honor and are authentically you are already serving the world. And saving it too, if that's your thing. What I really love about this, and I'm so glad you talked about the warrior pose earlier, and being grounded and firm. I do a lot of work with people who have a really strong warrior energy, and I love it. It's amazing, amazing, amazing energy. So as I say the word warrior, how many of you can feel something kind of stirring, waking up? You guys feel that? Okay. Yeah, we got some warriors in here. So warriors are loyal. They have a great sense of tribe and community. They're passionate. They know who they are. They know what they are. They know what they're meant to be doing, and they just have a real sense of honor and strength and connection. What happens sometimes, though, is that people who also have that warrior energy sometimes can get caught up in the drama of life, some conflict and some battles, some other things as well, because they get bored, so they just create some stuff. But people with that strong warrior energy are the people who are here on purpose. Like, you guys have stuff to do. And you're going to do it. But the more you allow yourself to really step into that and be in that energy, be in those virtues, the more aligned you are with who your deeper self is on that soul level. So would you guys like that highest understanding perspective of what it is to really connect with and feel that energy of honor and respect and love, connection, and loyalty? Is that okay? So all that's happening right now, I'm not giving you anything new. All we're doing is bringing in that high vibration soul energy, that knowing of who you really are, what you're really here to do, and we're just bringing that into this plane, into this vibration, We're just amplifying it so that you can remember it. Because you already do. We're just going to make it a little bit clearer. So just take a moment to feel that energy of purpose, that energy of focus, of honor for yourself and others, respect, of compassion and love. So as you sit in that energy, how do you feel?
Empowered.
That's a great word for it. Empowered. Anything else?
Floating.
Calm. Does it feel familiar? You guys really know this energy.
Very grounding.
Yeah. So this is who you are. This is who you really are. Without all the stuff that's going on in your life. This is that natural, original consciousness energy that you really are. And as you learn to say your no's and say your yeses, it brings you back to this. When you figure out how to say yes to this and apply things in your life, choose actions and behaviors in your life that align with you, it will continue to bring you back to this. So that as you choose your day, as you choose your relationships, as you choose your career, as you choose whatever it is that you're having, it continues to bring you back to this feeling. So for me, it's really about applying it all. That applied freedom. And as you start to choose that freedom, as you start to choose that alignment, then it not only influences you, but it influences everyone around you as well. So you guys know how our thoughts and feelings affect other people, right? Other people pick up things from us, from each other. So the more that you're sending out that sense of peace and confidence and empowerment and that true sense of self, you allow other people to step into that as well. You allow them to find that too. So I know that sometimes for people saying no is hard, making yourself a priority is hard, but as you do it, you show other people how to do it too. And for me, that's the most compassionate way you can serve the world. Is by being yourself, being aligned, and being authentic, and allowing others to respond to that too, and step into that. Because some people may not know that. They may have never had that in their lives. You may be the one who kind of showed them that, start teaching them some of that. Yeah. So does that make sense? How's that feel when you think about that? I mean, who thought serving the world would be that easy, right? All you gotta do is be yourself. Cool. And what this really does, and I know we're running over a little bit. I'm very sorry. I'm almost finished. What that does is it allows you to live from the inside out instead of the outside in. So instead of reacting to other people, you're just responding in the way that you really would choose to respond. And that gets you out of all kinds of dynamics with people where you're just responding or reacting to react, or feeling like you need to react, or just picking up on their stuff. So again, the more centered you are, the more that you understand your own energy, your own self, the easier that is for that to happen. Is that clear for everybody? Do you guys understand all that? I got some stories, but we're out of time, so but I want to make sure that's clear. Cool. So the more that you're living in that essence, and that grounded essence of who you really are, the more that you have serendipity, synchronicity, truth and authenticity, those things flow into your life. And again, that's where you start to create your life from. Yes, so I guess my advice for you guys going away for the next few days is, start to look at the things you want to say no to. start to look at the things you want to say yes to, and what it is that brings you back to that feeling of peace and groundedness and empowerment. Yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you.